with you and talk with you for 30 minutes. So I really want to thank you for being here today. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to have been invited, and I really enjoy sharing this knowledge with other people because it's so beneficial.
Yeah.
And we need these resources right now.
Yeah.
It's a time of great uncertainty, and anything that can create a greater feeling of serenity and groundedness and connection is so valuable right now.
It's beautiful. So let's go ahead. We're a few minutes early, but this will be a benefit to everybody. So let me just officially say welcome to Jivamaya Yoga Wisdom Talks. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, whether you're joining us later on YouTube or pop on in a few minutes. We're thrilled to have you with us today. And today our guest is Sherri Silverman. I've known of Sherri for many, many years, and her book has graced my coffee table for so many years. And I keep trying to move it to somewhere else, and then a friend will come by and, oh, where's that wonderful book? I wanted to look at it again. So the Vastu book has stayed on my coffee table for a very long time, and it is so gorgeous inside, and it's so informative. So aside from being a Vastu consultant, and Sherri will explain exactly what Vastu is in a little while. So aside from being a Vastu consultant for almost 20 years now, she's also a very gifted writer, a very gifted artist. She began teaching meditation some 40 years ago. And she's really, she's just very, very amazing, and you'll find this out as we go through this conversation together. So I wanted to just start today's talk, which is all about space. It's all about conscious space, and actually conscious space can be obviously in or it can be out. We're going to focus on out, but that doesn't mean that we won't touch in. And so I'd like to ask Sherri, first of all, the question that I have asked the other two guests for this month: what does the word spirituality mean to you? Because our topic today is really very much about spirituality in the workplace and how to achieve that. So many of us are now finding ourselves working at home, and all of a sudden we've got this whole house or apartment or whatever that we have to completely redo, and the family's going up in arms. And so how do we do all of this? And can we just start with the meaning of spirituality?
Okay. So spirituality to me is wholeness of life. You have to have inner development and outer development, and having that development of inner silence, your true self, your real nature from within, makes the life so much more whole and complete, and gives it a stable underlying basis, and enriches everything in the outer world, everything we perceive and think. So that's basically how I perceive spirituality, that it's not just in some little niche that you just do once in a while, that it's a big part of your life, and that obviously you can enhance it in various ways, and you can deepen yourself in various ways. The way I've been doing it mainly since 1972 is through meditation, and which to me is just a must. So I started teaching meditation in 1974, and I love being able to offer that as well, because it just makes such a difference. We live in a really stressful world, so it just seems to be essential. And especially these days, with so much fear and uncertainty and stress and worry about our immune systems with this pandemic, I just would encourage anyone who's not doing this sort of thing to find something that they like, something that they feel will be useful for them, because we do need those tools to develop ourselves inside. It's a kind of education that we need.
So with meditation, and I do want to get on to Vastu, but with meditation, I think some people feel that possibly if they've not done meditation, the reason they're not doing it is because they think that we have to sit in a certain posture, and we have to be this, and we have to be that. And actually, that's so far from the truth. I mean, meditation actually is an all-day affair. Is that bringing that same awareness, right? So you can meditate when you're walking. You can sit outside and even have a cup of chai or coffee and be meditating in a sense, right? So I think some people get a little bit scared, maybe.
I think, you can, anything you do with awareness will become a meditation. But usually we're just plowing through doing things and overwhelmed and not thinking about anything except, oh, this is challenging, and what am I going to do with this situation? And I wish that hadn't happened in the past. And our mind's just so filled with being, sorry about what happened in the past, regretting what happened, and worrying about the future that hasn't even come yet, that we completely miss out on life. And what true meditation does is it brings you more fully to the present moment, so you can really experience life more. And it's a lot richer that way. It's much more fulfilling and easy and grounded. So I think it's really good. And there are people who say, oh, I've tried to meditate, my mind's running all over the place and I can't sit still, and all of these things. There are ways to work with that. And, my favorite way is with the breath. And there's a wonderful course that's offered from the Art of Living Foundation that's been called a lot of different things over the years. It's been called the Art of Living course, the Healing Breath Workshop, the Happiness Program. It's now being called Sky Breathing Meditation. There are many names for it, but I can tell you it is absolutely fantastic. It gives you really good tools. And the organization now has it available online, where it's only a couple hours a day for 3 days in a row. And they've made it half price because of the pandemic and the fact that everyone on the planet is going through great difficulties. So if you're curious, I encourage you to go check it out at artofliving.org.
Okay, and the course, as far as you know, is still called what now?
Well, it's offered through the Art of Living Foundation. Right. And it has a number of techniques and processes in it that give you experience of your true nature, your right. Real self. But the core of it is a breathing technique called Sudarshan Kriya. Sudarshan means right perception, and Kriya is a purifying action. So SK, Sudarshan Kriya, if you think of Sudarshan Kriya Yoga, that is abbreviated in the word sky, which is kind of fun. So that's how that new name came about. I've been with this organization for 30 years now, and every now and then some new people come up with really good schemes and they rebrand everything. And it's kind of amusing, but fun, because it brings out another aspect. You look at a diamond, there's lots of aspects, and you could get caught up in any of them. But if you think about all these different aspects, you get more of an idea of the whole thing. And the whole thing in this case is it's something really easy and natural to do that will clear stress from your nervous system. There's research showing that it boosts your immune system, that it decreases anxiety and depression, that it enables people to sleep more easily, and a lot of other benefits. So I think it's worth checking out.
So that we move from the in and we move to the out. And in developing that inner silence, and yesterday you used the expression of wholeness of life, which I thought was just so beautiful, a great combination of words. When we move into our environment, our outside environment, how can we how can we really make that into that conscious space to really support what it is that we are trying to do internally?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There is a sister science of yoga and meditation called Vastu. V as in Victor, ASTU. That's the most common English transliteration of the Sanskrit term. Vastu is the yoga of design. It's the system of architecture and design that allows you to get more in alignment with the laws of nature and to live that way and to arrange your home that way. It's also teaches exactly how to build to get a really powerful effect of being completely supported and protected by nature. But most of us can't do that right now. We're in existing homes, which may have already felt a little too small for everything that needed to go on in it. And now here we are stuffing one more thing in, bringing our work home. So what do we do? How do we figure this out? All right, if you think about it carefully, the first thing you know is that you need it to be functional. The whole house, the whole apartment, the one room that you're living and working in, whatever it is, has to function for you for all the different things that you need. You have to have a place to sleep and a place to prepare food, and you need to have a bathroom, and you need, all these different kinds of spaces. And whether you needed to do it before or not, you probably need to do some kind of work at home. I just got another email this morning from a woman living in my area who has a wonderful, wonderful business that I've been going to for years. And her lease came up and it was not coming down at all. It was going down, up in the rent. She can't be open. She hasn't been able to be open for months. And she just decided she was closing the retail location and moving everything to her home. And now she's figuring out how to fit everything in so that because she's going to continue doing her own work, making clothing and offering that to people. I already have all that at home. I have my art studio in one part of my space, and I have this itsy bitsy room that's my office, and also my meditation room. Not the kind of, the two extremes in one room, but it's a really small space, and that's what I was able to do. And so you have to think about how are you going to arrange it so you can take care of all of your needs. So it needs to be functional. It also needs to be comfortable, especially if you're just moving your business or your workspace. You're no longer going to the office at your company, and you're now working, from a corner of the kitchen table while everyone else is moving around you. You need to have a space that is comfortable and functional. And it needs to have some sense of stability. Not that, okay, I'm standing here and every now and then I have to pick up my computer because someone needs something that was already on the tabletop. You have to have a way to get it so that you have your own space for this. So it has to be settled, comfortable. It needs to be serene and uplifting. It needs so many things. And how are you going to do it? This is where Vastu comes to the rescue, because Vastu has these wonderful guidelines that are the laws of nature. Well, we know we have to respect Mother Nature. Otherwise, what happens? Pandemics, for example, or many people are saying, are one of the results of not honoring nature. Climate change from not honoring nature. So what do we do to get more in alignment with nature? Because laws of nature, some of these are things that you can't just have an intuitive sense of. Some of them are things that you need to learn in order to follow. So Vastu goes by universal cosmic energies and earth energies. It also utilizes the mechanics of creation, how things come into being in the physical plane from the unmanifest source, from what quantum mechanics would call the quantum state or ground state. How do you, and so this isn't the sort of thing that most of us can just kind of figure out. Fortunately, according to legend, 10 to 14,000 years ago, there was this really smart guy named Mayan who did figure it out, because he was very highly evolved, very, very pure consciousness, and he was able to perceive these laws of nature in the atmosphere. There's an old expression, knowledge is structured in consciousness, in what has been called akasha, or unbounded space. And he was able to pick up those vibrations and understand them because of his level of consciousness, which was really handy, because this isn't something that he kind of made up and experimented on people with. He was getting it direct from the source and perceiving that whole mechanics of creation. So he's able to work with that. The simplest way to explain this, the most basic, is that you always want to honor nature and align with the laws of nature. And it's easy to do that if you're using universal cosmic energies by using the directions. And for the directions, north, south, east, west, and the center, for that, and the intermediate directions like northeast, southeast, and so forth, we use a compass. And if you don't have a compass around, you probably already have one. If you go to your phone, and there is an app for a compass. My iPhone came with one, and I'm sure if yours didn't, or you have another kind of phone and it doesn't have a compass on it, you can probably download an app for it. And then what you want to do is you want to set it for true north. There's a difference between true north and magnetic north. And you've probably heard this before. Traditional compasses, the needle goes towards north because of magnetism. And what that does is that it says north in a slightly different place for different localities. And it used to be you had to adjust for the local declination, as it's called. But if you set your compass on your phone to true north, you won't have to think about that. It'll give you true north. Okay? And so then you think about north, south, east, west, and about your space, your home. And you want to look at where north is. You don't want to assume, oh, the lake is to the north of my town, or the mountains, because where you're on your street, it may be that the lake or the mountains are actually to northwest or west and not actually in the north. So you do want to double check it with the compass. Okay. And then you can go into your rooms and you can see, oh, this room has windows on the wall, and that wall is in the east, which is a really good thing to have lots of eastern light coming in. So that way you know what your directions are. The next thing you want to know about are the 5 elements. There are 5 elements that make up everything in creation on a subtle level. And everything is filled with all of them, but they're going to be predominant. Certain elements will be predominant in certain sectors, depending upon what directional sector you're in. So, for example, northeast is water element, and it's considered to be a sacred zone and quite important. So it's not a good place to put a file cabinet, for example, because they're really heavy, or your heaviest bookcase. If there's a way to avoid it, we don't put these things in the Northeast because it's going to create an oppressive energy. We're exposed to so much stress and uncertainty in the world already. Why create additional negative vibrational influences? Why not work with those laws of nature to avert some of those dangers and those difficulties? One client that I had in New Jersey years ago, I visited them and worked on their home, and they had a study in the house that was not very inviting, and they really didn't like to use it, and yet they really needed to use it. And the wife and the family had hired me to come in. Her husband was very suspicious and just really thought this is a bunch of hoo-ha. Was not interested at all. But, you know, we went ahead, and there was a file cabinet, one of those really tall old ones that was in the northeast corner of their study. But there was this other placement in the room that would be much better for it, that it would look better and it would not create a negative effect. And we moved it there with quite a bit of effort. It took a while. And there were other things that we did in the room. And when he came home that night, he walked in the room and he said, "What did you do? It feels fabulous in here." He really liked it. And we said, "Well, we applied Vastu. We did this and this and this." And he said, "I have to admit, I really did not like the idea of this. It didn't make any sense to me. I thought it was just, you know, some fake thing, but this Vastu really works." And we were quite pleased that he got the point, because you really do notice these things in your life.
So is there a specific direction that your desk should face? Is there, when we're setting up something like let's say an office, what would be some guidelines for thinking about that?
Good question. Okay, Abaya, what you want to do is ideally you want to be facing north, northeast, or east at your desk. Why? Because facing those directions when you're sitting up gives you very coherent brainwave activity. This means that your mind will be clear and focused, and it's good for your creativity and your energy level. If you're facing south or west or southwest, for example, it's going to restrict your creativity and you're going to get tired much more quickly. And so it really makes sense to flip the desk into a direction where you're going to be facing in a way that is going to support you to be able to get your work done and not feel like you can barely support yourself to sit up at the desk. When am I going to be finished with my work? This is really a smart thing to try out. It may be just a little boost. It may be that you don't notice it at first, or you may not notice it, but it really does help. And so it's a good thing to do. Another thing about the way to face, it's nice if you're facing where you have expansiveness in front of you, that you're not like smack into a wall that's really, really close to your face. That is definitely going to restrict your creativity and just make your whole energy field feel crunched in and restricted. That doesn't allow you to do your work with joy or with any good effect either. So if you can arrange it that way, you may want to have your back, you know, if you've been having your desk right up against the wall, you may want to put your back to the wall and the desk in front of you facing out into the room. Or maybe you'll have a window that you can face out of. And if it's north, northeast, or east, you know, you still want to make sure that you don't have glare coming in that's going to affect your eyes. If you're facing east, for example, and it's early morning, you may have to pull the curtains or pull down the window shades for part of that time because you don't want to injure your eyes. Just like you really want your blue blockers on when you're working on your computer or other devices.
Right.
It really is harmful to your eyes. So that really helps with the desk and the direction. If you have a really deep desk, which I like a big desk so I don't feel restricted and I can be spread out or have a lot of empty space, and I don't feel like I have a huge pile and there's nowhere to put anything. If you can find a space where you can have a bigger table, that's really, really helpful. But again, you do what you can. And your chair needs to be comfortable. You're going to be in it for a long time. This is not a temporary thing. And a lot of businesses are starting to think that they're going to let a lot of their employees continue to work at home, or to work at home several days a week and only come to the office a few days a week. That everything is shifting right now. And so to be able to set up a good space at home for your office is really smart. You're also going to have to remember that all of this shift that's going on, we're being given a lot of time to sort through our lives and to examine what works and what doesn't work. And the same thing goes for all the stuff in the house. There are very few people who have extremely minimal homes and not a lot of things, not a lot of papers and knickknacks they've acquired and furniture and so on and so forth. And so this is also a really good time to be sorting through that and finding ways to organize it better. One of the things that really helps in an office space or any part of a house that is getting overwhelmed is to periodically go through and clean and find ways to rearrange that work better. I've been doing this for decades, and I still sometimes look at something in my home and realize, oh, I could do this instead. And I change it. I'm like, why didn't I think of that earlier? This is fabulous. And it's so much better. This is just the nature of life. There's always room for improvement and growing. And that's great. But definitely go through things and remember that you really are going to need drawers, and you need not only shelves, but you need cabinets. Some of these things you need cabinet doors so that you have a serene look and you don't have to keep seeing it. When you have all of that stuff jiggling and needing rearranging and falling over, it's a visual overload and your whole energy field is pulled by it. So you just never feel settled and you always feel overwhelmed. And who needs it? Maybe you've been doing that up till now, but you can take some steps to work it out. Even if it's only 20 minutes a day spent on this sort of thing, it's really worth it. So I encourage you to think about that. And, if you need to, go ahead and get something that has doors on it. Even file cabinets these days, you can get wonderful setups where they have one file drawer and then two regular drawers. So you can put your office utensils in those. And then you can get another file cabinet if you need it that just has the two file drawers. So there are many, many options, and there's so much inexpensive furniture that you can get that still looks nice that it gives us the option to do these things. But again, cabinets and closet doors, these are really handy, and they do create a greater sense of serenity.
So what for the person, I live in Las Vegas, as many people know, and the house that I moved into, very little planning, very little understanding of nature. Everything seems to be in the wrong direction. So it's been a challenge, and I've used mirrors and I've used various things like that. So what happens for the person who has only one space that can be used for an office, and there's no way they can face north. There's no way they can face northeast or east. Can they maybe use mirrors, or is there anything that they can use that would offset that energy of them having to face the south or the west?
I think first of all, just see if you can switch the desk around.
Right.
You just have to really think about how can I best use this space?
Okay.
For example, some people have homes where there's a dining room and an eat-in kitchen and a living room with a big TV. And they may find that the whole family keeps congregating around the TV to eat meals, or at least dinner, and then maybe has breakfast in the kitchen. If that's going on, take that dining room and turn it into an office space.
Right.
Use that beautiful, nice, big dining room table for your office. Why have to keep pulling all the papers off and your computer off every time people need to sit down for a meal? If you've already got another table that you're using in the kitchen, use that. And if it's movie night, do it in front of the TV.
Great.
We just need to be rethinking everything right now. And I think everyone can come up with a way to get this to work. And if you think you can't do it, start cleaning out drawers and cabinets and piles of paper, because what you'll find is it will start shifting.
Right.
And if you're feeling overwhelmed by reading the news, so many of us are reading the news on multiple sources several times a day. And it's just shocking, some of the things that are going on, and so sad. And it starts to weigh you down. And when you're feeling caught up in that and all your attention is going on to negative things, that's what your mind's focusing on. And so if you can focus on cleaning, fixing one bookshelf where there's a whole bunch of stuff just stuffed in there on top of each other, or one kitchen drawer, or the pile of papers in your office that is every project you're supposed to be working on and haven't had time to get to. If you can start organizing that into file folders and the circular file, as it is called, the trash can, although in this case, of course, we want to put it in the recycled paper, then you're going to find that your mind is going to get more clear. You're going to start getting more ideas, and you're going to have more space. Okay? Even in a small space, you can find more.
No, so it's the most liberating thing you can do is to clean out. I clean out all the time, and especially for those of us who may not be working necessarily corporate offices any longer, but we've either decided that we have something else that we really want to do. It's been a passion all our lives, and we're going to do it from home, or whatever the case may be, starting in with the closets and all your clothes. I mean, it's so liberating to be able to have somebody, Safe Nest, whoever it is that you want to donate your clothes to come by and pick them up, and somebody can use them.
Yes.
And your closet space is freed up, and yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really good thing to do, and you will just feel lighter and fresher and happier and be able to get more done. I remember once helping someone work on this, organizing and decluttering on her whole house. We'd already basically Vastu'd it, but this really needed to get done, and she asked me, and I came over every day for 2 weeks. And it was making such a difference for her, because she was figuring out how to do these things and how to maintain it. And she was getting so excited. She's finding things that she had really needed that she didn't even realize she had. So you get access to the resources you already have. And there was something she'd always wanted to do and had completely forgotten about. And somehow in this process of going through and examining and decluttering and donating and throwing out and recycling and reorganizing, she all of a sudden realized she really always wanted to go to massage school. And so she went to massage school and got her degree, and she was so happy that this happened. I've seen other people where they find checks they'd never deposited and books that needed to go back to the library that they'd forgotten about. I actually had to deliver the books back to the library myself in many cases. I just say, oh, can I bring these back for you so you don't have to bother? And the library's thrilled. Sometimes they haven't seen these books in 10 years.
Wow.
So these things will really, really make a difference. And it's worth doing because you're also going to start having that flow of ideas coming up more once you are doing this cleaning and reconsidering and reorganizing and rediscovering. This whole time, think of it as a time to rediscover yourself, to recommit to yourself, okay? You just let go of what normal life was supposed to be. It is never going to be exactly like that again. We're in a big transition time. Utilize it. It's here for your benefit. Yes, there's some really horrible things going on, and none of us want anyone else to get sick. But use it, see that silver lining, and find ways to make a difference in your own life and other people's lives, and to reorganize your home and your workspace in a way that works better for you.
That's awesome.
Yes, all in alignment with the laws of nature through Vastu. And if you want more information, my website is transcendencedesign.com. We've got that in the chat. And you can also, if you just look for Sherri Silverman, you can find me on the internet. And there's a Facebook page, Transcendence Design Vastu, and so forth. So there are lots of options. I do consultations. I have courses you can take. I have my Vastu book, and through my website, you can get either a PDF that has everything, including all the color images and diagrams, or it has a link so that you can buy the hard copy book, which is out of print. I need to get a new publisher to put out a new edition. And thank you so much. It's been fun sharing this with you. I hope it's been helpful for people.
I know it will be, and I know everybody really appreciates this tremendously. I think it's something that we don't really, the majority of us don't really pay that much attention to, and I think it's really beautiful to have you share this knowledge with us. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope you have an awesome, awesome evening. And I just want to remind everybody that next week, Swami Dhammananda from the Shivananda Ashram Yoga Farm in Grass Valley will be with us to end our month of spirituality in the workplace. And he will be discussing the word Dharma and what that means. And that is key. So I hope you will join us. And then I promised you a guest speaker. And our guest speaker will be on the 30th, which will be a Thursday. So the day after Swami Dhammananda, Dr. Vasant Lad has very kindly, so sweetly made a 7-minute tape for us about spirituality in the workplace. And then I will be interviewing as well Mitesh from the Ayurvedic Institute to further speak about spirituality in the workplace. And for anyone that's ever been at the Ayurvedic Institute, you will know that the minute you drive your car into the parking lot, you don't even have to go into the building to begin to feel that amazing whole, as Sherri says, wholeness of life. It's an amazing place. And I know they all really are very conscious about everything that they do to remain, have that remain there, that beautiful sense of spirituality of conscious space for all the healing that is taking place there. So I hope you will join us. And thank you again, Sherri, so much. I look forward to meeting you in person one of these days. I think I'll probably make it up to where you are before you'll make it down to where I am. So, but thank you.
And may all of you be well and safe and happy.
Awesome. Om Namah Shivaya, everybody. Namaste. Take care.
Thank you.